WWE Monday Night Raw was in the Steel City of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania this week, and the Shield kicked off Raw. They came out from the crowd. I actually have video of this and everything else that happened on Raw on Monday because I was in attendance at PPG Paints Arena, so go check those out. Like, follow, and subscribe to Gridiron Ring and myself, Luke96 on social media. Links are in the description. So the Shield kicked off Raw. Once they got in the ring, Roman Reigns has a mic. He was basically the only one who talked during this opening promo. However, once him and Ambrose left, Rollins stayed in the ring, cut a promo by himself with Paul Heyman. Roman Reigns says, though, he has no regrets if, in fact, on Sunday at Fastlane, if that was the last time the Shield will be together wrestling. I don't think it will be. I think if Ambrose does leave, he'll come back eventually. They'll get the band back together then, whenever that might be. But I really don't think he's going to leave. I think he'll be sticking around after WrestleMania once his contract does expire. I think they're just playing everybody right now, but we'll have to find out and see. But Reigns says, life is short, tomorrow's not guaranteed. He has no regrets if, in fact, on Sunday at Fastlane, if it was the last time the Shield will be together, because he loves what he does with also the people that he does it with. So no regrets, because he does what he loves with people he loves. But we are on the road to Wrestle Frickin' Mania. We need to handle our own business. Rollins, he has Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania for the Universal title. Roman Reigns, however, hasn't had a singles match on Monday Night Raw in 5 months. And then he goes on by saying something about Ambrose. Well, we never know what the hell he's going to want to do. We don't know what his business is, so we'll just let him deal with it by himself. They hug it out. They do the Shield fist thing in the ring one last time before, as I said, Reigns and Ambrose leave, before Seth Rollins stays out in the ring and starts cutting a promo. He goes on by saying, last night at Fastlane, the Shield burned it down. But then we hear, ladies and gentlemen, Paul Heyman interrupts. Heyman does his spiel about Brock Lesnar. I have a video on that as well. That, Lesnar is the reigning, defending, undisputed Universal Heavyweight Champion of the world. Heyman also goes on by saying that Lesnar dominates his opponents. The Big Show. At this point, Rollins cuts him off. Says the same Brock Lesnar that defeated the Big Show, Samoa Joe, Braun Strowman, and Goldberg. And Heyman just says, yeah, that Brock Lesnar. But then also the same Brock Lesnar that had a tough time getting by Daniel Bryan, the phenomenal AJ Styles, and then Finn Balor at the Royal Rumble. Heyman just says, yeah. He didn't say anything else. He just said, yeah. Crowd laughed. It was funny. Rollins says, Brock has had trouble with people of my stature, but one person who is suited to beat Brock Lesnar, and it's me, it's Seth frickin' Rollins. So, Heyman, you can go on and run your mouth the next 3 weeks, but I'm going to beat Lesnar and bring the Universal Championship back to Monday Night Raw, week in, week out. By that point, Slay the Beast chants from the Pittsburgh crowd. No booing, because Heyman was getting booed also. No booing when Paul Heyman has the mic. Lesnar, he really hasn't had a whole lot of time to prepare for his opponents, because when he was supposed to face Jinder last year at Survivor Series, it ended up being AJ Styles. Then when he was supposed to face AJ Styles this past year at Survivor Series, it ended up being Daniel Bryan. Then he was supposed to face Braun Strowman at the Royal Rumble this past year. He ended up facing Finn Balor. So Lesnar really hasn't had a whole lot of time to prepare for his opponents. So that was Heyman's response to Rollins saying, the same Lesnar that had trouble with all three, Bryan, Styles, and Balor recently. So then they show a Brock Lesnar video package, but Heyman introduced it as if Lesnar was actually in the Steel City and was about ready to come out. So Lesnar video package, and then Lesnar, he's had thoughts about Rollins, says Paul Heyman, ever since Rollins won the Royal Rumble this year. And as Heyman says that, Shelton Benjamin comes up from behind, the gold standard himself, and attacks Seth frickin' Rollins, suplex after suplex after suplex in the middle of the ring. And that led to a match. Heyman was on commentary, obviously being in attendance at a WWE event, especially for TV. You don't get to hear what the commentating team is actually saying during the show. So obviously last week on SmackDown and on Raw this week, I didn't hear anything that Tom Phillips, Corey Graves, and Byron Saxton said last week, or Michael Cole, Corey Graves, and Renee Young said this week, with Paul Heyman on commentary as well for this match. So that led to a match. It was a decent match, but what I think they're going to do with this moving forward is have former Lesnar colleagues or former Lesnar foes, opponents from his past, whether good or bad, and they're going to put them up against Seth Rollins on the next couple episodes of Monday Night Raw as we move forward to WrestleMania. Shelton Benjamin, someone who hasn't been seen in forever, he's on SmackDown Live. I talked about him recently. He's underutilized. He's underrated. They need to have him on WWE programming more often, but they don't. But I'm glad they brought him back on Monday. I didn't expect that. He came out of nowhere and obviously figured out it was Shelton Benjamin, and he attacked Rollins, like I said. But I think they could have potentially the Big Show, maybe, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, other people Lesnar's gone up against in the past. I mean, maybe Cena, maybe Rey Mysterio. I mean, somebody as a heel, though, would be a better fit to go up against Rollins, obviously, because Rollins is facing this feud with Lesnar. And the thing is, too, with Shelton Benjamin, if they just want to do Shelton Benjamin, I'm fine with that. Benjamin actually roomed with Brock Lesnar at the University of Minnesota and wrestled alongside Lesnar as a Golden Gopher when Lesnar won a NCAA National Championship back in the late 90s, early 2000s. So I'm fine with them inserting Shelton Benjamin in this, somewhat as his proxy, I guess. So Benjamin attacked Rollins. Like I said, it led to a match. Heyman was on commentary for this, but Rollins ended up winning with a curb stomp, and then they advertised Seth frickin' Rollins versus Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 35. And by the way, I guess on commentary, because I did go back and watch it once I got home, they announced on commentary during this match, Heyman did, that Brock Lesnar will be on Monday Night Raw next week in the Windy City of Chicago, Illinois. So then they also advertised Roman Reigns versus Baron Corbin, and then a face-to-face with Triple H and the Animal Batista. So Finn Balor comes out once Seth is still somewhat in the ring, cutting down on the time, obviously, because I don't have that extra couple minutes after 11 o'clock anymore on the USA Network. So Finn Balor, this was announced before Raw. It was actually announced at Fastlane on Sunday, that on Raw the next night, this past week, on Monday Night Raw, March the 11th, Finn Balor, he was going to have a Intercontinental Championship match versus the almighty Bobby Lashley. So Finn Balor comes out, his Intercontinental Championship match versus Lashley is next. They also advertise, I believe this is when, after they came back from commercial, when Lashley was walking down towards the ring, they advertised SummerSlam for Sunday, August the 11th in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. So it seems like, I think that's the week before when it normally is. So SummerSlam about a week early, I believe, this year, up north across the border. So match goes on, and Lio Rush, he came out and interfered. It was a decent match. He actually rang the bell. He came out through the timekeeper's area, rang the bell. So at that point, the ref should have called for a stoppage, but he didn't. Lio Rush rang the bell. He actually took the title because, obviously, the past couple weeks, Lio Rush has been trying to get Bobby Lashley's Intercontinental Championship back for the Almighty One. So he takes the title, which then that distracts Finn Balor. But then Balor got up top in the corner and came flying down before Bobby Lashley spears Finn Balor in midair before pinning him 1-2-3 clean and winning back the Intercontinental Championship. So Bobby Lashley gets the Intercontinental Championship back, defeats Balor on Raw this past week. So 2 weeks in a row for me, both on SmackDown last week and Raw this week. I got to see both mid-card titles change hands on TV. So I saw Samoa Joe win it last week, last Tuesday on SmackDown, and then just the other day on Raw, I saw Bobby Lashley become the Intercontinental Champion once again after defeating Finn Balor. They advertise a moment of bliss for later on in the night with Alexa Bliss, and she is going to announce that the WrestleMania host will be revealed. Next, we have a Baron Corbin interview backstage before going to commercial break. Ronda Rousey then comes out to somewhat of a mixed reaction, I thought, and then she basically doesn't say jack shit, to be honest with you. And then Dana Brooke interrupts, which I guess was supposed to lead to a match, but then Rousey just basically put her to sleep and attacked her before she left. She actually left, then came back, forgot to grab her title and her jacket that she was wearing. So she leaves. Then they promote the now triple threat match at WrestleMania 35 for the Raw Women's Championship between Ronda Rousey, Becky Lynch, and Charlotte Flair. Video package then from a couple weeks ago from Batista attacking Ric Flair during his 70th birthday celebration in Atlanta, Georgia. Yeah, I think that was 2 weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken. And then also the Triple H promo from last week in Philadelphia. They promote then, they advertise the face-to-face with Triple H and Batista for later on. I thought this was going to be the main event segment. It actually was the 10 o'clock segment. So I was shocked about that, but once it got over with and they had the main event, which was a match, it was supposed to be Reigns and Corbin, ended up being Ambrose and McIntyre. I sort of figured it out. It made sense at that point because Raw as a whole, it was subpar. I thought it was average. It wasn't anything special. It was all right. It wasn't, great. It wasn't terribly bad though. At the same time, it was a mixed WWE Monday Night Raw this past week. I thought, like I said, it was all right. It wasn't anything special. There's been better Raws, but there at the same time has been worse Raws as well. But they had a match with Ambrose and McIntyre in the main event, and they fought throughout the entire arena. It was a Falls Count Anywhere match. So I thought they were going to come right in front of us, but they didn't. They actually went up the steps where the Shield comes out, went out to the concession area, came back down. That was all during commercial break, I'm pretty sure, and they ended up fighting back in the ring and then around the ring where the fans sat at, a couple rows back and whatnot, before having the match end up around the commentating table up by the entrance. So, yeah, they advertise once again the Triple H Batista face-to-face for later on. But up next, a tag team match with Aleister Black and Ricochet versus Bobby Roode and Chad Gable. Aleister and Ricochet, they won before getting attacked as they walked backwards up the ramp by the Revival, Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder. So it looks like it's going to be a regular tag team singles match for the Raw tag team titles, I'm thinking, at WrestleMania 35 between the Revival and Aleister and Ricochet. They could have another triple threat with Bobby Roode and Chad Gable. They could insert Ciampa and Gargano if Ciampa's healthy, but he's not, and he just got neck surgery last week, so he'll be out of action for quite some time. They promote Kurt Angle addressing his future, and then a moment of bliss, which is next. So Alexa came out after commercial break. She announced that she is the host of WrestleMania 35, and it makes sense. They don't have anything else for her to do right now because she can't wrestle. She's still hurt a little bit. And making her the host of WrestleMania 35, I thought it was a good decision, great opportunity for her. So Alexa Bliss, the goddess, she will be the host of WrestleMania 35 this year. Next, a Braun Strowman interview. and then they go outside after commercial as well. A couple commercial breaks back to back. I mean, and then being in person, you can't really tell when they are unless, it goes really, really dark in the arena, or they're doing something that you normally wouldn't see on TV in the arena, interacting with the fans and whatnot. So after one of these commercials, Braun Strowman's outside then, and SNL, Saturday Night Live, gave him a gift. They gave him a car, okay, and I guess there's actually a toy of the same car. I really didn't look at it a whole lot, but he ended up demolishing the whole damn thing anyway. That was the big thing of the segment. He completely ripped the car apart, and that was the end of that. I guess both Michael Che and Colin Jost of Saturday Night Live are going to get these hands at WrestleMania 35, so we'll see what happens there. Maybe a handicap match between Strowman and those two. Who knows? We'll see. But then we come back, and like I said, normally you can tell when something's going to happen in the arena, if lights go out or commercial break, whatever the case may be. Whenever they were doing this, Elias came out, and he was sitting in the ring for a couple of minutes before they came back to him. So he's in the ring, and Pittsburgh, his hometown, was ready to walk with Elias, but he goes on talking about Pittsburgh, and then he talks about Antonio Brown as well, who was actually just traded to the Oakland Raiders. So he got a lot of heel heat from that, and I should have figured, he's going to turn his back on his hometown. But then No Way Jose interrupts him. And the guy beside me, he absolutely went nuts. He was screaming, no, 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 no. It was so damn funny because it was No Way Jose, and he sucks. He just got a new hairdo as well. But I think everybody, especially him, whoever that guy was, if you're listening, let me put it on the comments below, but he was so pissed off. I don't think anybody expected that, and we obviously, clearly him as well, wanted somebody else other than No Way Jose to come out to Elias on Monday Night Raw this past week in Pittsburgh, Elias' hometown. So I have a video of the entire Elias segment right here on the channel, so go check it out. You'll hear the guy next to us going absolutely nuts because he did not want No Way Jose to come out to Elias. So it was pretty funny. So he comes out, interrupts Elias, and Elias attacks him. And Elias actually thought he was getting more time, but they actually cut him off because he was asking for a mic. I don't think they showed that on TV. He got back in the ring, was asking for a mic, and they actually cut it. And then they showed a Harlem Heat Hall of Fame video package. Instead, I would have rather have listened to Elias for another 10 minutes rather than seeing a Harlem Heat Hall of Fame video package that they're going to be showing on SmackDown as well. But so a Harlem Heat Hall of Fame video package as they're going into the Hall of Fame this year alongside DX with China. China is being inducted into the Hall of Fame this year. Tori Wilson and the Honky Tonk Man. So Lacey Evans then, she came out, and then Nia Jackson, Tamina came out as well. They have a little bit of a stare down. Go back to commercial, come back, and Natalia's out there, and then Beth Phoenix returns. It looks like it's either going to be a triple threat, a fatal four-way, or a fatal five-way with some women's tag teams for the WWE Women's Tag Team titles at WrestleMania 35. So a match with, it was actually supposed to be Natalya versus Tamina, I believe, but they basically didn't do anything. They just attacked each other a little bit before Nia and Tamina attacked Bayley and Sasha Banks, the Boston Hug Connection, in gorilla position backstage. So then they cut to outside once again, and by this point it's dark out, it's 10 o'clock, but the past however many months it's been dark at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, especially on the East Coast. But with daylight savings time this past weekend, everything's been screwed up, obviously. But Batista, a car arrives and Batista gets out. So his face-to-face with the Game, Triple H, is next. So they go to commercial, come back. Here comes the game. Triple H comes out, and then Batista, new Titantron, looks pretty cool. Video of that right here on the channel. So go check it out. If you didn't watch Raw, I'm sure they have stuff posted as well. But Batista then brings out security. Triple H then asks, after no one said anything for the first couple minutes, Triple H asks if he's going to come to the ring like a man or stand there like a nose ring model. So, nice security too, by the way, says Hunter. And Batista says, well, I'm not stupid. I've learned from two of the dirtiest players in the game, you, and then by that point, woos from the crowd. He said Ric Flair, sort of botched that and a couple other things during his promo. So, I don't really think Batista and Triple H are going to be on TV a whole lot leading up to Mania. They might be on the Go Home show, but with Batista's schedule, I know he's going to be having a match at Mania now versus Triple H, but I don't think they're going to be on TV a whole lot. So they just had the segment on Raw this past week, to make it official before Mania in about a month. So, if Batista was going to be on TV, and he did screw up, so be it, but obviously you don't want to see, a former champion in the business make mistakes in his first promo coming back to the company in quite some time. But, everybody makes mistakes. I get it. But he says the biggest mistake, though, to Triple H was always underestimating me. And we're going to do things my way. You're going to give me what I want. Hunter says, I'm not going to give you a damn thing. How many times have you quit the company to go become a big Hollywood star? No, nothing. We're doing things my way. Triple H is like, well, is that security like the Guardians of the Independent scene? Which was hilarious. That was absolutely hilarious because obviously WWE security, WWE police, it's always just regular jobbers from the local area, whatever city that they're in for Raw or SmackDown or a pay-per-view at that point in time. So they're in Pittsburgh, so those guys were local Pittsburgh wrestlers, and obviously Batista in Guardians of the Galaxy, so it was funny. Batista then says, or Triple H, says, I'm going to beat your ass. Not your way, we're doing things my way. And I got as far away from you as possible because you've always been holding me down all the time, including right now. You know what I want, give me what I want. Hunter says, I'm not giving you a damn thing. Give me what I want. And then Hunter's like, alright, I'll give you what you want. I'll give you the beating you deserve. Batista goes on by saying, I want you at WrestleMania. Triple H, you want me at Mania? You're on. And then Batista just says, thank you. He says, one last match to end my career on my terms, and one last match to end your career on my terms. Triple H says, you better dig deep. Your terms. We got ourselves a match, but the match is on my terms. It's going to be no rules, no restrictions, no holds barred. So the Animal Batista versus the Game Triple H in a no holds barred match now at WrestleMania 35. They advertise Roman Reigns versus Baron Corbin, but up next, Kurt Angle's address. He says he's going to have his retirement match at WrestleMania. Like I said last week, it didn't look like he's been getting around that good in the ring, so he's going to have his retirement match at WrestleMania, but Kurt, since they're in his hometown as well, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, he wants to have one last match in the Steel City. So Apollo Crews comes out. This was awful as well, but they should have had somebody else better than Apollo Crews come out. He's a good wrestler, but it's just his gimmick I cannot stand. So Kurt Angle versus Apollo Crews is next. They go to commercial. During the commercial break, Kurt walks around the ring the entire time, shaking hands with the fans and whatnot. Kurt Angle wins. Big send-off for him, being from Pittsburgh, going to Clarion University, winning a gold medal for the U.S. in the Olympics back in 1996 with a broken frickin' neck, and then being in the wrestling business ever since in WWE and then TNA Impact, whatever the hell you want to call it, and then coming back to the WWE a couple years ago, being inducted into the Hall of Fame, Raw General Manager, and then just floating around basically ever since. So Kurt Angle will have a retirement match at WrestleMania. However, that opponent for him is still yet to be seen. I don't know who it's going to be. It might be John Cena. It might be somebody else. We'll see. But up next, Roman Reigns versus Baron Corbin in the main event. Roman Reigns comes out, and then Drew McIntyre attacks Reigns. So then, go to commercial, I believe. Actually, Rollins came to the rescue like 10 minutes too late, and him and Reigns walked back up into the gorilla position. They go to commercial. Ambrose finds Triple H backstage, says he wants McIntyre in a Falls Count Anywhere match. So that is up next in the main event now, since Reigns can't go. And they had the Falls Count Anywhere match. Like I said earlier, they fought throughout the entire arena. They fought in the ring for a little bit, made their way up the steps where the Shield came out at, and basically where all the concessions and merch stands are at. Come back down through the crowd once again and around the fans ringside before getting up to the entranceway by the commentating table before ending the match there, and Drew McIntyre ended up winning. So who knows if this is going to be the last time we'll ever see Dean Ambrose on WWE TV. I think he'll have a match at Mania. We'll see, though. They might just have him go out being attacked by Drew McIntyre and, call it a career for him in the WWE for the time being. But yeah, Drew McIntyre, he won. That's how Monday Night Raw ended this week. So stay tuned and see what happened on SmackDown Live on Tuesday, March the 12th. Before I let you know what happened on SmackDown this week, be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to Gridiron Ring and myself, Cool Hand Luke96, on social media. As always, the links are in the description below. So Raw was in Pittsburgh. WWE went west to Dayton, Ohio, just past Columbus, for SmackDown Live this week. And I guess the non-TV side, where the camera normally is, where the superstars look at for the camera, I guess that entire side basically was tarped off because there was no one sitting there. Like, they didn't sell enough tickets. So they normally do a good job camera angle wise if they do have to tarp stuff off. But basically, long story short, only half the arena was filled for SmackDown Live on Tuesday, March the 12th. That kicked off with Shane McMahon. He came out, and the Best in the World trophy is in the middle of the ring. Then he made sure the ring announcer, what's his name, Greg Hamilton, he came to the ring to announce him as the best in the world, because Shane obviously replaced The Miz back in November at the Best in the World tournament at WWE Crown Jewel over in Saudi Arabia. Now on Sunday at Fastlane, if you didn't know, Shane turned on The Miz after their match versus the Usos, which they lost. So co-besties, the best tag team in the world, is no more. Shane and The Miz are split up. And Shane goes on by saying that basically he was just sick of it, which is why he turned on The Miz. And he's just not talking about WWE employees or other wrestlers in the back, the boys, as they call them, and the WWE universe, the fans in attendance, and everybody watching at home. And, basically he's just sick of everybody asking him what they can do to get ahead in the company and in real life. Now, throughout this, there were a ton of "We want Kofi" chants, and Shane just went, like he really just didn't say anything about it, he just brushed it off. But Shane did say that the fans have no idea what goes on behind the scenes, what he has to do week in and week out, every single day of the year behind the scenes for everybody in the WWE universe. He goes on by saying as well, he said, all that stopped when he beat the holy hell out of The Miz in his own hometown. It would have even been a little bit bigger, I thought, if he would have said the state of Ohio, because they were in Cleveland for Fastlane and then Dayton for SmackDown, which is still in Ohio. And he still got a little bit of heat from that, and obviously Shane's a heel now, so I think we can expect this the next couple weeks on the road to WrestleMania. But then Shane said that he enjoyed beating up The Miz so much that he's going to continue it all the way on to WrestleMania. So therefore, basically, Shane McMahon versus The Miz is now official for WrestleMania 35. So Shane left, Aleister Black and Ricochet and the Hardy Boys, Jeff and Matt, versus The Bar, Sheamus and Cesaro, and Rusev and Nakamura in an 8-man tag is up next. They just show Aleister's entrance, go to commercial, come back, the match gets started. So I was somewhat disappointed no Ricochet entrance on TV, but oh well, it is what it is. It was a decent match, but then the New Day, they came out, and basically everybody just started brawling with each other, and the ref just called for the bell, so basically ended in no contest. But it was a decent way to start SmackDown, other than the opening promo from Shane McMahon. Next, then, we had Randy Orton. He was on TV for the first time in a while, along with AJ Styles, because last week they had a promo Styles backstage, Orton interrupted. The week before, we had another AJ Styles promo backstage, Orton interrupted. So this is the first time in a couple weeks that at least both Randy Orton and AJ Styles are actually on TV out in the ring. So it was just a Randy Orton promo, and then Styles came out as well. But Orton said that he had to get something off of his chest, and what he doesn't understand is in 2002, almost 20 years ago, 17 years to be exact, that Styles was wrestling in high school gyms in front of 10 people, while Randy Orton, himself, however you want to word it, he was making his WWE debut. And then 2 years later, Randy was winning the WWE Championship and becoming the youngest WWE Champion at that point in time. And then he just went on to compare their careers and just show you how much better Randy Orton has been compared to AJ Styles. Randy said that he built up SmackDown, but then AJ Styles came out and said that he was flattered that Orton basically followed his career so closely up until the time, he came to the WWE 3 years ago. And then Styles said a guy like Orton wouldn't make it on the indies, and he called the RKO a diamond cutter knockoff, which basically that's all it is. Randy claimed that AJ's indie friends, which a lot of them are in WWE now, ripped off the Too Sweet, which they did as well. Styles called Orton out for having babysitters for his entire career, like Triple H and Edge, so on and so forth. They went back and forth with some accolades throughout both their careers, which you got to give credit to both of them. They're two of the best wrestlers in the entire world. One way or another, they made it to the WWE, and that's really all that matters anyway in the long run. So who really gives a shit at that point in time? And then they finally decided to throw down. They went at it a little bit because Orton said it is his house and rent is due, bitch. And then finally AJ said, you want your rent? Well, Randy, come and take it. And at that point in time, AJ was also pointing at the WrestleMania sign. So obviously AJ wants a WrestleMania match versus the Viper, Randy Orton. And I think we're going to get it. And by the way, if you guys don't know, they've been practicing during dark matches. I don't know what the dark match was last night, but last week when I was at SmackDown, they wrestled in the dark match, and I have the entire video of the full-length match. So go check it out between Randy Orton and AJ Styles. Asuka versus Sonya Deville was next. It was an alright match. Asuka ended up winning, but then after the match was over, there was some tension between Mandy and Sonya. So it looks like Fire and Desire will be breaking up, because on Sunday at Fastlane, Sonya, you can look at it how you want, but Sonya basically lost the match for Mandy with the ring apron up in the ring. That's how she slipped and fell. Asuka pinned her, and it is what it is. I'd rather see Mandy and Sonya be a team, especially with the women's tag division right now. But it looks like they'll be breaking up, or maybe they're just playing everybody right now as well with this too. But it looks like Mandy and Sonya will be breaking up sometime soon, maybe a match at WrestleMania or another upcoming pay-per-view. So Asuka defeated Sonya, and then Mandy and Sonya had it out a little bit, some tension, but not that much. But that's what it's looking like towards the future. And then the Iconics, Peyton Royce and Billie Kay. Peyton Royce, good God, they cut a good promo, I thought, backstage on the Boston Hug connection of Bayley and Sasha Banks. So they might be one of those tag teams in a triple threat, fatal 4-way, 5-way, 6-way, however the hell they're going to do it, at WrestleMania 35 for the women's tag titles. Becky Lynch then cut a promo, so back-to-back women's segments on SmackDown Live. So to the end of the 8 o'clock hour, into the 9 o'clock hour, this is when this was. Becky Lynch came out, cut a promo. She actually threw her crutch to the side whenever she walked out, so obviously she's not selling the injury anymore. She just ran down basically a quick recap and said that, basically she's back in the main event of WrestleMania 35. She was in it, they took her out, in it, out, so on and so forth, suspended, in there as well. But she said that she set this match in motion by earning her way into the match twice. First time was clearly by winning the Royal Rumble this year, and then the second time was playing Ronda Rousey like a fiddle, which she did. But then Ronda came out and helped her at Fastlane to make sure it was a triple threat at WrestleMania 35. Lynch goes on by saying as well, it is hard to play mind games on a woman without a brain, but she did. Thanks, Ronda, you little weirdo. And then she said she'd repay her by Mania, by ripping her arm off and reclaiming everything they tried to take from her to give to someone else. And then Charlotte Flair came out. So basically, long story short, I don't really need to go on with this promo anymore. Becky's clearly going to win at Mania. That's all there is to it. I don't really want to go on about it anymore, but I will, but it is what it is in the long run anyway. And Becky Lynch, in my opinion, I think a lot of people's opinion, because she is the man, Becky will win at WrestleMania over both Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair. But they could throw us a curveball and have Ronda retain, or Charlotte win it and make everybody pissed off even more. But we'll see what happens. Rey Mysterio then and R-Truth in a tag team match versus Andrade and Samoa Joe. Rey and R-Truth ended up winning after Mysterio rolled up the U.S. champion Samoa Joe. Another tag team match then was next. Kevin Owens and Mustafa Ali versus Daniel Bryan and Eric Rowan. Daniel Bryan and Rowan won that, so SmackDown was alright last night. Both Raw and SmackDown this week were alright, subpar average. They weren't anything special. But they're both the first shows after pay-per-view on the road to WrestleMania, for God's sake. So it's going to be like this the next couple weeks up until the go-home shows for Mania. So we can probably expect this the next couple weeks, to be honest with you. So at the end of the 8 o'clock hour, going to the 9 o'clock hour, 2 women segments back-to-back, and then 2 tag team matches back-to-back, plus a 8-man tag to kick off the show after the opening video package, or after the opening segment promo with Shane McMahon. So, it was alright last night, but Daniel Bryan and Rowan, they beat Owens and Mustafa Ali. And then the head honcho, the boss man, whatever the hell you want to call him, Vinnie Mac, Mr. McMahon, he came out, he spoke a little bit. He did throw a shot, I thought, at the Young Bucks, calling Big E and Xavier Young Bucks, and that Kofi is awesome compared to Daniel Bryan, but he is still only a B+ player. Vince goes on by saying as well, you can still have an opportunity to face Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania only if you beat a couple men next week in another gauntlet match. So next week, Samoa Joe, Rey Mysterio, The Bar, and Rowan, along with Kofi Kingston, in another gauntlet match next week on SmackDown. And if Kofi wins that, he'll be added to the WWE title match at WrestleMania 35 versus Daniel Bryan. So like I said, both are on SmackDown this week were average. They weren't anything special. And it's probably going to be like this the next couple weeks up until the go-home show. So let me know down in the comments below, as usual, what you guys thought of both Raw and SmackDown. And then be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to Gridiron Ring and myself, GohanLuke96, on social media. Thanks for listening.